Good afternoon, kia ora koutou. Ko Angela Caves Tokerau, no mai haere mai. Welcome to the Northland Business Growth and Support Virtual Conference. My name's Angela Caves and I'm the Partnership and Events Lead with Digital Boost. It's my pleasure to be hosting you this afternoon. Welcome to our audience who have joined us here in the webinar just now, and a warm welcome to anybody who might be viewing via Facebook, LinkedIn or YouTube. This is afternoon number 2 of our 3-day conference, and we're just about to enter session 3. We're sharing the breadth of support that is available to the Tai Tokerau community, business community. On the webinar with me this afternoon, I've got Rich Volkman, who is an Employment Liaison Advisor from connected.govt.nz. Welcome, Rich. Rich is going to just take us through some webinar housekeeping, let you know how to interact with us, and then we'll introduce our guest speaker. Thanks so much, Rich.
Kia ora, Angela, and welcome everybody to all our viewers who are joining us for day 2 of the Connected Digital Boost Conference. For those of us who are joining us for this session in the webinar, you can see and hear us, but we can't see or hear you. So if you do have any questions, we just ask that you please put those in the Q&A function available, and we'll address these towards the end of the presentation. And this session is also being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube playlists on the Digital Boost channel for post-event viewing, and all registered attendees will also be provided a link via the email. It is my pleasure this afternoon to introduce you to our presenter for this session. From Nothing.net, I'd like to welcome Tom Frost. Kia ora, Tom. Welcome.
Kia ora.
And I'm going to hand the floor over to you, and I'll pop back in towards the end of the session with any questions that we might have. Take it away.
Thank you. Cool, thank you. Kia ora koutou, everyone. Tom Frost, I'm the Program Manager for Nothing.net, a digital equity strategy, I guess you call it, that was developed by Far North District Council. Now I'm going to do the old share screen. Here we go. Now, can everybody see that?
Yep, that's looking great. Thanks, Tom.
Fantastic. I liken these to seances. You know, are you there? Have you seen this? What are we doing? So what I'll do is I'll just quickly go through the Nothing.net strategy as we talk it, and I'll just, if you bear with me, I've got 3 screens. Here we go. So Nothing.net is a digital inclusion strategy that was developed by Far North District Council, focused on the Far North, but also to take into account all of Tai Tokerau. It was a collaborative, community-delivered outcome, bred through when we had the original COVID lockdown. So went to the community and wanted their feedback around what were the digital equity or inequity things that we needed to do. The strategy was developed in a co-design, so it was very much community focused. They led and focused on what we needed to do around the digital divide. There are 5 PO within the strategy, and it has since been adopted by council, put into the long-term plan, and hence I'm employed to deliver on the strategy. I'll just cover off the PO next. So as you'll be able to see, it's broken into the 5 pieces. So there's Connect Tokerau, which is delivering world-class mobile and broadband internet infrastructure by 2023. Now, to be fair, that's pretty ambitious, but we are making significant progress in that space. Also, Grow, Whakatipu, and that's around looking at what we can do around economic modelling and using technology to create pathways and partnerships to improve social outcomes, social well-being, economic well-being, creating jobs and educational opportunities for the people of Tai Tokerau. Korero mai and korero atu, and that's about speaking up, and that's being tech friendly with a skilled workforce. So the intent is to develop the tools and the skills and the capability and the infrastructure to make sure that we have a digitally literate and skilled workforce, so that the people of the Far North and Tai Tokerau don't have to travel down to Auckland all the time to get the jobs. They can get well-paying jobs back here and with their whānau and around their homes. Manaki, and that's obviously again around digital literacy, the skills, the capability and the capacity, but blending in of the well-beings that local government has to embrace, which is obviously social, cultural, economic and environmental as well. And then the last one is obviously the key piece is the whakakarato, and that's to deliver stuff. So that's actually getting out there, and rather than talking about it, it's actually doing stuff and making sure that we're engaging with those communities to deliver the outcomes for the wider group. Now, what I'm going to cover off is a couple of things that we're sort of working on and have been doing. So it's pretty much high level, but more than happy to take some questions towards the end, obviously. So one of the things we have been doing is working closely with the NAFA Innovation Park. And I did see in a previous webinar that Northland is working closely in that space as well. So part of that will be to develop a technology hub. So working with partners, the likes of Microsoft, AWS, Google, Spark, Vodafone, Chorus, etc., to work out what does that look like? How can we get people engaged? And that's whether it's rangatahi, people wanting to pivot throughout their careers, and give them the opportunities to focus in technology, but not just things like software coding, which can be a little bit daunting, but also things like actually getting out there and installing, Internet of Things, public Wi-Fi connections, working out in the field and being involved and engaged with their whānau. Also working closely with what we call the Digital Enablement Group. So this is the bunch of the Northland Councils, Northland Inc., and now wider to the likes of TPK, MSD, getting engaged around how can we align what Nothing But Net is doing for the wider digital strategy to cover Tai Tokerau, to ensure that we are aligned and making sure that the funding models are such that we can actually deliver some of these outcomes that we want to do for the wider community. And it's also working with the local providers. So we're very much and written into the Far North District Council and MBN strategies as working as best we can with local providers and creating internships, scholarships, pathways to make sure that we're keeping everything focused in the Tai Tokerau area as best we can. Now, next one. So this is around some of the stuff we have been doing. So this covers obviously the tuhono and whakarato, which is around what have we actually done. So we've worked with the Tourism Infrastructure Fund via IMBI to deliver some of the strategies. And that's now things like smart bins, smart lighting, but also public Wi-Fi. And I can see I've covered up in there that it's about providing better digital infrastructure across the Far North, and obviously that will be widened out to all of Tai Tokerau. Because we can all talk about having a digital future and digital access, but if you don't make it available to people and affordable, then it's not going to be much use. So we need to make sure that we focus on that, and also focusing on things around smart cities and connectivity. So that's making sure that the council and councils can make decisions based on information and data that they get, all anonymized, so that we can understand what the water quality looks like, what the roading infrastructure needs to future planning, dust in the roads, noise, complaints, also where people move. For example, when tourists comes into places like Opunati, how many people turn up there, where do they go? Just those sorts of types of things. We've also had a lot of collaboration, and I'm building a partner ecosystem, which I'll talk about in another slide, but it's working with Spark's Māori development team, the Spark Foundation, the Vodafone Foundation, the Chorus guys, understanding what they're up to and where they're working and what those future opportunities look like around connectivity, especially for a lot of our remote communities, which, to be fair, aren't well served. And this is across all of Tai Tokerau. The centres are pretty okay, but the smaller little rural communities, not so much. And then that leads to advocating with the likes of MB, CIP or Crown Infrastructure Partners, the RCG or the Rural Connectivity Group around their investments and what they're trying to do to improve connectivity. So it's a blend of businesses as well as central government organisations. Next one. And this is more around the kōrero, and the hui we have with people. So the view is very much that there's a lot of people doing a lot of really good things, often in isolation, but we need to understand what does the communities actually want. So we've got great connectivity and engagement with our elected members, understanding their requirements and the voice of the community. That's basically what they're there to do. So they feed in, we have conversations all the time around what does the next step look like, how do we start working on that, but also growing partnerships. Now I do talk pretty fast, so bear with me. Including things like the Digital Marae program, which is awesome, led by TPK, Network for Learning around their fibre connectivity to a lot of the kura in the Far North and Northland. Working with MSD and TPK as well, as they're investing a lot of stuff in these communities, is how can we leverage those investments to do better things for the wider community. And then, as I mentioned before, creating a partner ecosystem. So that's the likes of the Choruses, the Sparks, the Vodafones, to Kiwi, Microsoft, you name them, we're working with them to provide the community outcomes and leveraging their expertise and their funding models as well, to be honest, for both the Far North and actually all of Tai Tokerau. That's what we're focused on. What else are we doing? Oh, there's some more. There we go. Another one we're working on, which is actually pretty exciting, is the delivery of public Wi-Fi. So public Wi-Fi was initially started through the Tourism Infrastructure Fund, which has gone to Paihia and Russell and up to the Waitangi Wharf now. And that'll be live probably in the next sort of 3 to 4 weeks is what we're thinking. So the equipment's in, we're just waiting for fibre to be connected. But I've also at the same time decided that let's, not just focus on those sites, but look at what else we can do. So we're focused on Awanui, Rawini and Opunoni, and they'll be all installed probably in the next 3 to 4 weeks, hopefully prior to Christmas, and other towns are now planned for 2023 for the likes of Kaikohe and Kaitaia, but we're also open to work with communities around where are the best places to do this to get the best impact across Wharohi. Obviously, I mentioned before developing a partnership with NAFA Innovation Park around a technology hub, and that's pretty exciting. So there's a bunch of different groups. There's Northland Inc., there's Far North Holdings. As I said, there's AWS is interested working with us, Google, Spark, Vodafone, and a bunch of other different providers to showcase what's out there and provide mentorships and internships to create pathways either to further education, understanding technology, and fundamentally creating jobs. Also part of the role, which is actually really important, which is often missed by the likes of central government, is working with the Digital Equity Coalition of Aotearoa, or DECA, and they advocate at central government to highlight, as you can read there, the disparities and deprivations that are pretty evident across the Tai Tokerau and Aotearoa in general. But it's around, they often will go, oh, we've got connectivity or we've delivered a cell tower, but a lot of people can't afford it. So basically we want to make sure that the government and central government has an affordability lens across what they're trying to do. And our white paper has been delivered to central government, or will be within the next week, to raise that above the parapet, if you like, so that central government is aware that these things need to be addressed and need to be addressed strongly, because digital connectivity is an important fundamental human right nowadays, the likes of power, food, shelter, etc., and getting opportunities to work. A good outcome that we've delivered also is partnered with Tai Tokerau FM up in Mangamoka. We partnered with them and delivered fibre, which now means we can also now deliver cost-effective fibre to the Hauora Hokianga clinic across the road. But as an aside, the township of Mangamoka, or the residents around there, have now suddenly got access to higher speed, albeit copper connectivity, than they did purely because of the outcome of the fibre delivery that we led with them. So that's working in partnership with communities. Another one that's really quite cool is we're doing some work with Pangaru and Motiti. So a number of years ago, they delivered fibre when they put in their water plant, and it's never been livened up. So we work closely with Motiti and Pangaru to get that livened up. It's under action now, and that's to provide affordable, high-speed connectivity linking from the local kura in Pangaru through to the maraes and to the papakainga and to the houses out there, so that the people of those areas will get cost-effective access to reasonably high-speed internet connectivity and mobile connectivity as well, which they don't currently have. I've been out there a few times, it's pretty average. Another one we've done recently was an upgrade to the NAFA papakainga, and that was basically putting in a satellite connection with some public Wi-Fi, or public Wi-Fi for them. Great success. It's only been in for about a month and a bit, and they're doing 1.5 terabytes of streaming every month, which is awesome, which means that them, their mokopuna, all get access to reasonably decent, cost-effective connectivity. It works out, and I think a lot of people may not agree with this, but it works out at roughly about $20 per whare per month, and there's 8 whare there. So that's actually, that's something that a lot of the other providers don't do. Also, obviously in conversations like Te Huku Trust, Hauora Hokianga, and many more communities to develop these strategies and to address the digital equity that is in Northland. And that's not just about connectivity, it's also about the skills, the capacity, and what do those pathways look like. So it's a big piece of work, but it's a lot of fun. What's next? So this is what's coming up. So I do go pretty quick, as you probably realise. We need to create stronger relationship with iwi, hapo, and the communities. It is, as I said, this is a community-led strategy, and we want to make sure that they're at the heart of what we're trying to do. So it's not the council or Nothing But Net dictating, it's us working very, very closely. People have often asked me, do you have a priority list? And the short answer is no. I want to work with the communities that want to work with us. So if businesses want to make sure they get access to a specific group, or another community wants to do that, we're more than happy to work closely with them to deliver those outcomes. But also, as you probably know, we've obviously new elections up in Tai Tokerau, and there's new mayors, there's new councillors, there's new community boards, and there's obviously the Māori boards as well. So we're going to make sure that we have better engagement there to understand what their requirements are. They're on the ground more often than we are, and make sure that we're trying to deliver to their outcomes and to their communities. We are also working with volunteer organisations that exist all across Tai Tokerau who are doing fantastic work. As I mentioned before, often in isolation. So we're going to make sure that they're all part of the whakapapa that we're working on. So everybody's engaged, everybody's there as part of what we can do to address the digital equity piece of work that we're trying to focus on. We're also trying to work with central government. Often it can be a challenge, but I think we're making some positive ground here because I think they're seeing the outcomes of what we're trying to deliver. So that's the likes of MB, CIP, TPK. As I said, there's a lot of different groups trying to do a lot of really good stuff. And we just want to make sure that we work together to deliver those outcomes for those communities in need of the most. And there's obviously continued engagement with the likes of DECA, so the Digital Equity one, DIAA. They're the guys that effectively do the skinny jump program through libraries and community centres to give affordable 4G broadband connectivity, some of those more deprived communities. So we're going to work closely with them about how we can do that. And then if you look at it, I also want a pan-council approach. So a lot of the work I've been doing is not just focused on the far north, although that's part of my role, but it's actually say, let's look at it at a Tai Tokerau level. How do we do things better collectively as a wider group? And we have a stronger voice with central government and also access to the likes of funding. And then lastly, the continued growth of the partner ecosystem. So it's growing. So Google is now on board. Amazon Web Services mentioned before, and I've got a bunch of other little partners that want to be a part of what we want to do. Even such as local businesses or even other partners we've had outside of Auckland wanting to create opportunities for people to be working on their behalf up here, so they become contractors, if you like, of that work. So there's ongoing job opportunities in different spheres across Tai Tokerau. And I'll go to, there you go, questions. So I will stop sharing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that, Tom.
Sorry, I do go fast, but
no, that's all good. I mean,
off.
You covered a lot of ground there. I mean, wow, you weren't kidding when you said you were busy. It does sound like you've got a lot on your plate there. So there is a couple of questions that have come through, and I just want to reiterate to our guests that have tuned in today that a copy of this presentation will be sent to them in a direct link so that they can watch this at a later date. We do have another question there. Oops, where's that question gone? Just a minute. A little bit of a situation where most of your mahi, it seems to be focused directly or quite towards the far north and the more remote regions of the far north. Is there something that you can suggest for people who are living, say, 5 kilometres or so outside of Whangarei, who are only on copper wire in a bit of a dead spot, having to constantly call out technicians to come and have a look at the connections and things, because they're just sort of being left in a bit of a limbo, I think, and having to sort of install various bits of technology to try and fix these problems, despite fibre going right past their house.
Yep. Previously to moving up to the far north, I actually lived in Whangarei on Nunuru Road. I was lucky that the cabinet I was close to, so I got decent copper speeds, even though fibre went right past the house. But the mobile coverage was average, so I had to get a mobile booster, and that, these things cost a bit of money. One of the things I have been doing, I think I alluded to it earlier around the Papakoinga in Nafa, was actually using satellite technology. So things like Starlink are becoming a bit more prevalent. So yes, they cost $1,200 to buy, but they're pretty much available, apart from one small pocket in the far north, they're pretty much available everywhere. And they're pretty good. I know a lot of people, even up here in Kirikiri, Waipapa, etc., have already got it. And it's a really good offering. There are, of course, other satellite offers. There's Voice Satellite. I think they're based in Whangarei as well. There's Gravity Internet, who we work with. There's a whole bunch of others. Big Blue, I think, is another one. But I'm more than happy to have a look at it. I do work with the guys in Whangarei District Council, and they get a lot of that feedback as well. More than happy to at a high level address what you can do. A good trick is there's a thing called Broadband Maps NZ. Go in there and type in your address. It'll give you some of the ideas of what's available. To be perfectly honest, it's not perfect. I am talking to Chorus because obviously they know they've run fibre to a lot of the kura. At the moment, they go, well, why didn't you extend it wider to the other houses around it? Oh, I wasn't part of the gig at the time, so they are addressing that. But they've also got that affordability piece they've got to consider. 4G isn't suitable for every location purely because of the geography of Tai Tokerau.
So in that situation, I suppose, I mean, this particular question that we've received, where's the next best step for them to go to in terms of figuring out a pathway forward? You mentioned Starlink. There's a couple of others in Whangarei who are offering something similar.
I was going to say they spent $4,500 on a mobile booster. Ooh, that's quite expensive. Just saying, because I'm doing mobile boosters. I mentioned before Pangaru and MoTT. I'm bidding boosters in there. The high-end boosters are very expensive. Don't get me wrong, but a standard booster that I had in Mangere Road, there was $2,000 installed, which is still a lot of money. Do not get me wrong. So a lot of that stuff, a lot of that technology is quite prohibitive. Look, to be honest, that particular person, come to me and I'll have a look at it for you, and I can come up with some options and just get some ideas fleshed out. I'm more than happy to do that. I've got a lot of the resources available through the partnerships that I've got, and just make things easy. I don't want to be inundated with stuff, but I think there could be an opportunity to start collecting this information, because I think central government isn't often aware that these issues exist. And I think North Power do a great job, but they probably won't have the funding because it's funded through IMBI and CIP as part of the Rural Broadband Initiative. There is more money being allocated to that, just so you know. There's another 60 million allocated this year. What that's going to deliver and where it's going to deliver, I don't know. Typically, they've done it in the past, and this is no disrespect to IMBI, they've done it from the towns out. But I think when I was speaking to them only a few months ago, they're looking to go from the outside in. So the more rural, harder to reach places, trying to do that, because then you can fix a lot of other issues at the same time. So in that particular case, more than happy to help.
Okay, great, thank you. So that sort of brings me to the next question: is how was all of this funded? But I guess you've already kind of answered that around the local and central funding. Yeah,
so well, it depends. So because Far North funded this and they saw the need for it in the Far North, it doesn't mean other councils are looking to adopt this. There are funding models through the likes of IMBI, MSD, potentially TPK. So we're doing some work in the background to say, look, you know, if they're building a papakainga or they're working on a model, like, so for example, the digital marae program, which is great, delivers connectivity and screens, etc. Well, actually, why wouldn't you extend that out just a little bit further to the wider community? So, and same, a lot of the schools will have fibre, not all of them. Why wouldn't you extend it out from there, whether it's a public Wi-Fi network or whatever it might be? I think it's the powers in the communities getting together and saying, what do they actually need and where do they need it? And part of my remit is to work on what does that look like and come up with these innovative solutions around that. And then we can address some of that funding stuff at the time. So it's a blend of the local government, communities themselves have done a great job of doing that. Central government, like MSD, TPK, etc., and potentially corporates. You know, I know I saw something yesterday that Spark's now going to have $1 million fund allocated for that. I know Chorus are looking at some of that sort of stuff. Vodafone's doing a similar thing. So
being addressed on many different levels by the sounds of it.
It is, but it's still disparate. And I think that's the biggest challenge. And I think if we can collectively work together, as I said before, we have a stronger voice, which means we can get more access to this. And has some of the historical funding been appropriate? Be honest.
So I'll save that for another presentation.
Yeah, that's another conversation. Correct.
Awesome. Okay. Well, listen. Thanks very much, Tom, for your time today. I think there's, it sounds like there's a lot going on in the wider community, and it's exciting, really, about the availability of what's becoming more mainstream.
And one thing I will say is, and I might have given a serve to some of the partners, but Chorus has done a huge amount of extra work in the fibre thing. So has the likes of North Power and the RCG, or the Rural Connectivity Group, so Spark, Vodafone and 2 Degrees, have delivered a lot of new towers and capacity. And I got a list the other day of another, I think it's 20 or 30 new cell towers getting delivered in 2023. So there is progress being made. Is it enough? Personally, no, and that's why I'm here to help and try to generate and advocate on behalf of Tai Tokerau.
No, I hear that and appreciate that. Thank you very much for today, and I'll hand back to you, Angela.
Thanks, Rich. Yeah, thanks, Tom. Some fantastic work being done by Nothing But Net to help, close that digital divide. Now, do you mind if I drop your email address in for that participant that asked the question around the
all good.
situation? Will that be great? Also, that in there. Thank you for your questions. And
one shout out, if I can, is
sure.
I think if anyone is in there that's part of those community groups, whether it's from a hapu, iwi, marae, or a kura, if they want to ask some questions, more than happy for them to come directly to me, because I think there's some opportunities to do some really cool stuff and leverage some of that connectivity that's already there and be disruptive a little bit. And I think that's not a bad thing.
Yeah, I guess there's power in numbers, isn't there? And hearing those voices and going as a collective to try and get some action and some outcomes. So yeah, I've just dropped Tom's details, email address in the chat. So if I can encourage you all to copy that out and perhaps send to Tom an email and he can gather everybody and get some information there and see what can be done.
Yep.
Thank you. If you are not quite ready to make any moves and you want to come back at a later date, but you kind of forget where you need to go to get that connection, please head over to Connected, have a chat with Rich. Rich can also put you in touch with Tom and the team at Nothing But Net, along with any of the other participating organisations in the conference. Digital Boost is here to help you. So once you are up and running with that connectivity and you wanting to get your digital presence online, we do have a whole bunch of learning resources available on the Digital Boost platform. We'll be able to support you through your digital adoption journey as well. So we've got a great customer service team that will be able to help you with taking those next steps. It is a huge task to undertake to start your digital footprint for your business. So we are ready and waiting to help you, obviously working in collaboration with supporting that connectivity in the Far North region as well. That does bring our session to an end. I want to thank Tom again for joining us and talking us through everything that is happening from Nothing But Net in the Northland region. Fantastic work up there. Thanks so much for joining us and participating in the conference and supporting us here. Up next, we have Wharaki joining us at 2:30, talking about support for Māori business. At 3:15, we'll be joined by North Tech, who are going to be sharing all about training and upskilling. And then at 4 p.m, we'll have Māori Women's Development, who are going to be sharing the work they are doing supporting wahine in business. So please do join us for those sessions. We'd love to have you. Once again, thanks for sharing your time with us this afternoon. We really appreciate it. And we will see you in the next few sessions. Have a great afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.